Shut up and sit down.
Welcome everybody to the DwnFwdPUNCHcast episode 26. I'm your host, Jason Sears, and with me today is the one, the only, the incredible, the super, the it's a bird, it's a plane, it's...
Are you waiting for me to say my... It's me, it's Cobradactyl.
Cobradactyl. Or as you may know him, Cobradactyl.
That's right. That's probably the only way you know me.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for joining me. So weird. He's so weird. We have a good show for you today. We're going to get into a couple things. There's a new AI that's doing some pretty cool stuff with video games. And we're going to talk a little bit about Xbox One X game enhancements. So you're going to want to stick around for that as well. But first things first. So AI. The Georgia Institute of Technology has made some kind of artificial intelligence that can watch video games and then make that video game.
It can make the game or it can play the game?
It can make the game. So they had this system watch two versions of the original Super Mario Brothers. So they had one version where the person played it as in an exploratory fashion, right? Where they kind of took their time, looked, kind of like a casual game where like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then they had the other one, which did a speed run. So the game watched it both ways, and 2 minutes later, it took 2 minutes in order to make Mario Brothers.
What did it look like?
It looked like Mario Brothers. Like when you look,
How did it get assets and stuff like blocks and sprites?
it made them. That's what it's saying. Like it is a game engine, right? So you input the game engine, you can input something, and then it can figure out how to take those assets, put them together, and make a game that follows the same kind of logic progression as the original. So there were some blemishes, they called them, but this AI could figure out how to produce a game that was just like Mario Brothers.
Now, what were the blemishes exactly?
So, like, I don't know, like you had the blocks.
Would Mario occasionally like spurt out like a racial slur or something? They're like, "Well, that's a blemish. I don't know about that."
Like, no, like I think like a couple of the character models might be like not exactly. So you might have like a Koopa that didn't look exactly like a Koopa, or some of the blocks would have imperfections to them, or something like that. Like not like they would be aesthetically a little bit different, like coloring maybe off.
Is there footage of this?
Huh?
Is there like actual footage?
I've seen still shots where they show like the one versus the other.
We'll throw some of those up on the screen so you can take a look.
Yeah. So after they did this, they're now moving it towards. They're now working on the project this way. They can look at like other games like Sonic the Hedgehog or
Dark Souls.
Mega Man.
Who knows?
Yeah. They're really going to 0 to 60 on this thing. Let me tell you.
You gotta start somewhere.
So it's interesting. Like it's fascinating that this can do that. I mean, if you think about it from the perspective of the business, now you have something that can save a lot of time when it comes to making games, right?
Yeah, games that are 40 years out of date, maybe.
This is step one. I mean, at some point they're going to keep working on developing it. But let's say future state, this thing can look at games, make it from the engine. At the second time, what does this mean for people who actually work those jobs?
I can't imagine anybody is in too much trouble because I don't know how far could they really take this? If it has to watch a game to reproduce a game, it's not going to be. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to like feed it.
It's not watching the game to make the exact game. So you're not watching Super Mario Brothers in order to make Super Mario Brothers, right?
That's what it sounds like.
It can do that,
Okay.
but the point of this is that it watches Super Mario Brothers and says, "Okay, make a Super Mario Brothers game," and it can produce the things in the same way. So like. The game can look and say, all right, so it can predict on the fly of like, how is this supposed to work? So as you move the character, how are other things supposed to interact with it? What is the level design supposed to do with it in relation to that? And it fits the mold of the original game. So in theory, let's say somebody wanted to go and make, how many Mario Bros. Did we end up having? Like, what was the last numbered one? 4? Super Mario 3.
3.
So let's say you want to make a Super Mario 4, right? In theory, this should be able to do one. Or Super Mario Brothers, the original 2. Like, not Super Mario 2, but like the original version, like a sequel to that.
Okay.
This should be able to produce that. So as this becomes more, more enhanced and they continue to beef it up down the road, you can look at other game engines, and at some point down the road, it should be able to look at a more sophisticated game and then say, cool, I'm going to make a game like this. And you look at it and go, well, it's clearly made by the people who made that.
Man, this is going to make Treyarch Activision's job of pumping out a Call of Duty every 7 weeks real easy.
I think it already is.
Commentary.
Quick, change the logo on the box. Send it, people buy it.
They'll just get an AI robot to look at the box for whatever the last Call of Duty was, and then it'll remake it. I don't know.
Meanwhile, this is probably going to be the most commented video we have because there's going to be a ton of Call of Duty people that will be like, Call of Duty is amazing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's so good.
Probably.
I love all 3 hours of my campaign. I kid. Some of those are, I don't know. It's not our thing, but a lot of people like it. So whatever makes people happy.
I could have made the same joke with Assassin's Creed, probably, to be fair.
I think that's more of a stretch, though.
Really?
Yeah. Have you played Assassin's Creed?
Not since, 2.
I think it's a stretch. I mean, the concept is similar, but yeah. But I just think it's impressive that I was able to do it in under 2 minutes. I mean, that's 2 minutes to watch a game and then produce it. That's nuts.
Yeah, I wonder. I feel like at some point it's got to reach some sort of limitation, but
yeah,
it sounds interesting. I wonder how far it will go.
But I mean, if you were a video game developer, would you be worried that this is going to come take your job?
Not
like, how do you stay
lifetime.
ahead of the curve? Not in your lifetime.
No.
I'm telling you, man, like, if they're doing this now, I give 15, 20 years before this thing can actually do, like, AAA games.
What?
I'm telling
No.
you, yeah.
No.
Technology works so fast. It grows so exponentially fast.
But there's a human element that needs to be put in. I mean, like animation is how's it going to animate models? Character models. How's it going to do that? How's it going to create a narrative?
It can't. I mean, obviously, it can't now. But this is.
You think it's going to create a narrative? Who's going to do is it going to write dialogue? Is it going to voice act?
That'd be funny if it did.
Well, okay, that would just everything just sounds like Microsoft Sam or like the Moonbase Alpha voice. Okay, now we're on to something.
Okay, yeah.
But
I'd buy that game.
no, I mean, but really, I mean,
but even if it doesn't take
things,
that
sure.
far, so let's say it can produce a AAA game, but it can't voice act and it can't create a narrative, right? So let's say a person still has to make the story, like write the narrative, and still has to actually act out the parts.
Okay.
So, but then you have a game where it's like, all right, so here's the narrative. Here's the thing. Here's a game. Like, we're making a sequel to something. We made the original. We want to make a sequel. So watch the original. You have an idea of what the characters are, how the levels are supposed to progress, the type of play style that it is. We'll act out all the things. So now we have 4 or 5 actors. We have a writer or 2. Now we don't have all these developers, like the people that are doing the actual coding. That's still a significant reduction in people that work on the game.
I mean, I guess if it's able to do as much as you think it's going to be able to do, but
maybe I'm off in the timeline, but I just think that as fast as this kind of stuff progresses, like that's a realistic possibility. Now, granted, this is just a university that's doing this, so they could do it, and it doesn't mean that the actual industry is going to use it because all of them kind of agree like, hey, this would be bad for us eventually. So maybe the technology ends up being there, but nobody has to worry about it for a while. But I would think at some point somebody's going to go, you know what? We need that new Call of Duty or whatever, and maybe we test this thing out and see how it goes.
I think there's I'm thinking about, if you look at a game like Super Mario, it can take a look at the levels and see, basically how they're designed or something, and maybe, generate a new level that works under those same kind of guidelines or whatever. But like if you're talking about a modern game that's three-dimensional and everything, if it were to generate a level based off of functionality, it's probably going to be pretty bad. Like,
it could be
either in the way it looks or the way it plays. Like, think about multiplayer maps for shooter games. They're designed very specifically to have certain areas and certain, alleyways and line of sight. I mean, these are designed by people who are able to envision how a player is going to use those areas. I feel like would that be possible for this thing to like figure out?
I mean, now no, but if I think that the way they described it is that it observes everything frame by frame, and then it has to learn, like, as it observes it learns possible outcomes to every scenario. So like this frame observes that where everything is positioned, what happens, what are the places that it can go for the next frame, and where does it actually go for the next frame. So if you're talking about it from such a granular level, it's going to take time before it's sophisticated enough to do something like what you're talking about. But I think eventually it will be. And maybe I'm wrong on the timeline. Maybe it's not 15, 20 years. Maybe it's 30 or 40 years. I don't know.
30, 40,000 years. I don't buy it. I'm not on board. I think nothing to worry about.
But platformers are also coming back too. I mean, we have a couple platformers that are coming out now where, we haven't seen a traditional platformer in a long time, and maybe these are the ones that are going to be more likely to use something like this than a shooter.
Maybe this thing has a place in like the mobile market where it can make a really generic, like, here's just something we threw together. That I could see it being able to put something together that maybe is better than something that already exists.
I think you win the podcast. Just like that. That's actually genius, yes. And you know what? They can do that all they want because I don't buy those. So I don't care.
Yeah, go nuts. The mobile market's already saturated with so much garbage.
Yeah. But people keep buying it and eating it up, so they're going to keep making garbage.
That's true.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
automatic game maker. Go nuts.
Cool. So shifting gears a bit, because I don't have a good segue for this at all. There's no way to segue to it. The Xbox One X just got announced for the actual pre-orders for the regular version of the console, not the Project Scorpio.
Hold on. Before we go any further,
yes.
Speaking of AI, I wonder what Cortana would think about this. Oh wait, Cortana, the Xbox One enhancements for the Xbox One X Scorpion Edition. Go ahead, take it away, Jason. Come on, I'm working. You gotta work with me. Meet me halfway here. I'm trying. I'm giving you gold, Jason.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
All right.
Okay. You're right. What would Cortana think? I think she would think that the regular Xbox One X is it just went up for pre-orders, and a lot of people are talking about the Xbox One X game enhancements again. There's a lot of stuff to this that I think is really fascinating. If you don't know, first, because of the extra assets that these games need, the file sizes potentially would be gigantic, right? So Microsoft is getting very creative with how they're going to keep file sizes down. This way it doesn't eat up everybody's hard drive right away and it doesn't take forever to download. So they're looking through all these games, ones that are Xbox One X compatible, and they're looking to break these up and make these modular. This way you don't have to get all of the assets. So like, for example, if you live in North America, when you sign on with your Xbox One X, Xbox Live recognizes that, and let's say you want to download Assassin's Creed Origins. So they say, well, North America, in Ohio, for example,
they don't give you any of the parts that take place in Egypt. That would keep the file size way down.
That's true. No, but it'll look and say, well, they're in Ohio, they probably primarily speak English, so we don't need to send the file sizes, which would normally include, the various language options that you would have in this game. Now, you can still manually add these if you choose to, but you remove those from there. Also, baseline versions of the game, they've done this in ways where the system will know that, hey, we don't actually have to download the pieces that would be just for the lower res version of the game. I don't need that, and then build on the higher res on top of it. It just eliminates the smaller textured size and just gives you the higher one. This way it can kind of keep things as bare bones as possible, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
it's a good idea, and
efficient.
it's great that they're making this move. I expect that Sony will probably follow suit, just because even without having to worry about the extra assets for a 4K thing, this is something that is going to benefit gamers in general, because
Well, I mean,
even if you do it on a current system, like
Yeah.
you want to optimize your space, right?
and any game now, like, they're so big in file size. Like Final Fantasy 15, I think is like 56 gigabytes or something.
Forza 7, I heard, is 94 gigs.
So as you can see, that's big. Those are big games. And I mean, how big are these hard drives anymore? I think mine is like 500 gigabytes. That's not enough.
Yeah, and the Xbox One X is coming with 1 terabyte, which really is not that much when you think about.
Not anymore. It's not really.
You know, when this generation started, a lot of people were upset that it didn't come with a 1 terabyte to start. I mean, it would have been great if the Xbox One X had a 2 terabyte.
Why stop there?
Just saying.
5 terabyte.
At
10
least
terabyte.
memory is not that expensive now to add an external hard drive. But
That's
still.
true. But I mean, yeah.
The other part of this is the enhancement part. So a lot of these games are getting extra assets that developers are actually making. So I thought this was interesting because there is already a much larger list of games that are getting extra Xbox One X assets than there were for PS4 Pro. And when I did some digging into it, it's because a lot of the developers said it's just that much easier to develop for the Xbox One X than it was the PS4 Pro. So you have a lot more people that are willing to go back and put extra development time into things. And I think that a lot of people don't understand what this actually means. So have you seen any of this stuff, like the Rise of the Tomb Raider stuff or the Quantum Break stuff, or any of these things, of like where the differences are going to lie?
No, I guess I haven't.
So, like for Rise of the Tomb Raider, for example, they're going back in, they're putting through, there's extra textures that they're building, they're putting in, coding to get extra, you get the extra resolution. Obviously, when you boot the game up, you can pick from like 3 different game modes, right? You're like, hey, I want the 60 frames per second game mode at the 1440p resolution, or you say, hey, I want the 30 frames at the 4K resolution. Or I just want, 1080, 30, or 1080, whatever the game originally was. And you get to pick that. Some games are getting extra content in general. Like they are putting through, as part of this, they're putting through extra stuff for Recore, for example.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
They're finishing a lot of the stuff that was originally supposed to be part of the game. And granted, this was content that was probably available even if they weren't doing the Xbox One X. But it gave the developer a reason to go back and say, while we're doing this, let's put all this extra stuff in there too. And all this stuff is like free updates for these games. I think this is brilliant for developers to take part of, because it gives people another reason to buy the game. Even if you don't have the Xbox One X, right? If you're getting new assets and content, you might finally say, you know what? I haven't picked up that Rise of the Tomb Raider thing, and now I feel like maybe it's time. I can get the game. I get more than it was when it was at launch. It's a cheaper price point. They have a way to keep the life of the actual sale going.
I mean, I did hear how Recore is getting the definitive edition, that people who own it already are getting automatically upgraded and whatever. But what kind of like new content are we talking about for these other games?
I mean, it varies between the different games. All the games are doing different things. It's whatever the developer wants to put in there. So they're patching through things. And again, this is going to be something where when you log in, the One X will automatically, like the Xbox Live will automatically know that you have a One X, and it will send the assets to you. But most of it is going to be, frame rate stabilization or textures or resolution, that kind of thing.
I'd be surprised if we really see like there's a new level now or something like that.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would go as that far. Like I think Recore is probably, one of the few, if not the only at this point, that's doing like a whole bunch of substantial content. But that possibility is still there, right? Because now you have a reason. If this thing is as easy as it seems to develop for, and people are purchasing titles because now they get these patches that give it a better visual or whatever, I can see where developers may use this to say, you know what, let's throw them a little something, because we could pretty much put minimal effort into just making a little piece of extra content to sell the game again, which is a win for everybody in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that is a possibility. I mean, if think about it, any developer could do that for really any game that is on, whether it's an Xbox One X or not. But it's going to come down to, does the developer want to spend time or resources on creating new content for an old game?
They can, but I think because of even if you're not buying the Xbox One X, I think because of the hype that comes with a new console coming, I think that gives a better platform to do that with. You know what I mean? Because if you just update an old game, it's like, oh, that's cool, they updated an old game. Because they're doing all this stuff with the new 4K thing, whatever, there's a lot of hype around it. So you hear the hype, and then you're like, well, I don't have the 4K, but, I can get those extra recore levels. Or,
well, I hear you. And for recore, I definitely could see somebody being like, now's the time, maybe I passed up on it, now's the time to pick up recore now. It might have, a little bump in sales, but I don't know. I'm just I feel like maybe I'm not hearing what you're saying,
okay.
right? I feel like
here's a better example, okay?
Yeah.
Rise of the Tomb Raider. Have you played it?
Not Rise. That's the second one.
Yeah. Rise of the Tomb Raider is fantastic. Tremendous game, right? It did very well on Xbox. It did well, but not as well because it came out a year later on PlayStation, and people didn't realize that it was coming out on there because they thought it was an Xbox exclusive. It did well on PC. So a ton of people played it at launch for all three platforms, right? But not everyone, obviously.
Sure.
So people played the game. They stop playing the game because time goes by. They move on to other things, whatever, put on their shelf. Some people, maybe I'll get it, kind of forget about it, something else comes out. So now the Xbox One X is coming out, and people are talking about it all the time. Digital Foundry's doing their thing, and here's what it looks like versus this thing. And people start talking about the game again. They start, hyping it up, and they're like, yeah, this was such a great game, and now it's even better, whatever. Even if there's no extra stuff in there, before they put anything extra, you're getting the hype again, right?
Okay.
So now you have somebody that was maybe once at one time was like, I'm going to pick that up eventually, and kind of fell off their radar. Now they have that reason to say, oh my God, I forgot this. I was going to pick up Rise of the Tomb Raider. Everybody's talking about it again. I saw some clip that I didn't see before, and really now it's teetered the fence for me. And it's cheaper because it's not a new release. Just because it's in the public eye again, I think is beneficial.
Do you think that the same could be said about PlayStation 4 games that have been updated for the PlayStation Pro?
To a lesser extent, yes. From what I understand, and I haven't seen this firsthand, but from what I understand, the PlayStation 4 process is much more complicated. You have to toggle things on, and it's you have to go in there and put on your boost mode if you want, whatever. I mean, I think that you can still have hype and stuff for it. Again, I think this is because there's the excitement of a launch. But to your point, that is something that I think potentially could have happened. I just think because the hype is coming with a new... I mean, I'm saying people would still maybe get hyped and buy Rise of the Tomb Raider for PlayStation 4 as well, because I'm not talking from a console perspective. I'm saying the hype is becoming because there's a new console coming, because that's giving the reason to start talking about all these things again. Mm-hmm. But the sales is what is being it's beneficial to the sales for the developer, not specifically the Xbox or the PlayStation.
So when the PlayStation Pro was about to come out,
mm-hmm.
would that have been the same or no?
Yeah, if it was a lot of titles, I don't think... I mean, how many titles got released for the Pro right away and got patches?
I couldn't tell.
There's a lot... The list for the Xbox One X is already substantially longer than it's been for the PS4 Pro. And the PS4 Pro's been out for a year, right?
Okay.
So, at the time that the PS4 Pro launched... And I'm making numbers up because I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But let's say it was 10 titles, which I don't even think it was that many, where it's right off the bat, these ones are all optimized for Pro. Okay? So let's say it's 10 titles. So you're like, cool, there's 10 things that get optimized for Pro. You have 10 things to talk about. There's already 30 titles that have optimization for the Xbox One X. So I think having the quantity higher makes a broader range of things to get excited for. So yes, just to a lesser extent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Anything else about the...
No, I'm excited. I think this is cool. I saw some stuff. Digital Foundry, well, a couple places were doing stuff on Quantum Break. Quantum Break is like a super resource-intensive game. You haven't played that, right?
No.
Quantum Break is a cool game. It's not as perfect. It's not perfect by any means. The controls are a little wonky, but the visuals of the game and the scope of the game is really interesting.
Is that the one that had like the TV show or whatever associated with it?
It splices in and out with a TV show, and you kind of pick how you want the episode to go. But it's really demanding on resources because there's so many things. So like, at any given moment, let's say the world freezes and you have like thousands of fragments of something that's breaking just in the air that you can also interact with, whatever. I saw some videos about how, as of right now, they're still struggling to get that up to hold the frame rate and get past like 900p. Just because it's so labor intensive. Because when they boost the resolution, it uses more resources, right? So like while the game could run at a fairly steady frame rate of like, I think between like 55 and 60 frames originally, but the resolution was lower. When you boost the resolution up, it has some screen tearing now. So there's, they're not done with it. Yeah, obviously they got work to do, but I'm excited to see if they can pull it off because I actually kind of want to play through that again.
I don't want to get too much on a tangent about specifically Quantum Break, but how does it run on a normal Xbox? Or does it run okay because the resolution is lower?
Right. It actually runs better frame rate wise,
okay.
At least from the last that I had seen, because of the fact that it was using a lower resolution. So like the actual screen tearing was significantly less, and when you boost the resolution up, it was making it that much harder because there's so much going on. But I mean, I'm sure they'll get it done. I mean, they got another month to go.
Time.
Yeah. So, are you ordering yours yet?
Not yet. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the other edition because the Scorpio edition has come and gone. I'm waiting for the
standard edition.
Not the standard edition. They need to wow me with like some other kind of edition.
The Kingdom Hearts edition.
That would do it. But I was thinking more along the lines of like a Panther edition.
Panther.
I don't know. Scorpions are cool, but I feel like they need to branch out into mammals. Panthers. Probably just popped in my...
Well, what was the original Xbox One? It was the codename Durango, I think. Is a Durango a thing? Other than a car?
It is a car.
I mean, I don't think it's an animal, but what is it? Wasn't that a movie about a lizard?
That's... Oh, I was going to say Django, but no, that's not...
No, Django Unchained was a different movie. Wasn't there an animated movie starring Johnny Depp that was called Durango or something?
I don't think it was Durango, but I know what you're talking about.
It was something like that, right?
It was something like that.
It's that. For all purposes of this video, it's that.
Oh, that is going to bug me now. Yeah, I can think of it. He's got the eyes.
Right. Yeah.
Give me that movie. Don't even make a game out of it. Just make the Durango Django Lizard version of the Xbox One X. Boom, you've got my money.
So if we've babbled and we've digressed a ton.
Rango.
Is it Rango?
I think it was Rango.
Okay, it might be Rango. I was close. If you are still watching this video at this point, we need your help. Back when the Xbox One S launched, there was an offer from Microsoft that everybody who was upgrading from the original Xbox had a Kinect, wanted to continue to use the Kinect. Microsoft was going to give them a free Xbox Kinect adapter. Since this promotion ended, this thing is like $30. Now, don't even do this for me. I just think it's for the general well-being of the public, that any of these sole survivors of people using the Kinect, they should have the same opportunity. If they held out to wait for the Xbox One X, it seems only fair that Xbox should offer those people the adapter for free as well. So I have launched a campaign, and you may have seen it if you follow us on Twitter, because I constantly tweet Phil Spencer and tell him that he should include this for it because it would be swell of him. And I encourage you to do the same. And we'll see how far we can get this going. If that happens, we will declare victory together, and maybe we'll do something crazy as a sweet bonus.
Sure.
Yeah. So do that. And while you're on Twitter, follow us. You can do so at DwnFwdPUNCH. That's at DwnFwdPUNCH. You can follow me at Sergio Armani. You can follow him.
Echo Berdactyl.
There you go. And you can follow David at whatever his handle is. I know it, but I'm not going to say it because if he can't remember it,
That's
why should
right. We're not going to humor him.
It's going to end up on the screen anyway. I'm going to put it up there just for kicks and giggles and then act like I'm surprised.
How to get there? Just type it in wrong or something. So that...
He does a lot of stuff on Twitch though, so you should check him out on Twitch. It's at Paul Blart Marblart.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Anyways, this was episode 26. Thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. And until next time, keep on gaming.